Science!
Hi there, welcome to Science Time, experimenting from home. My name is Kristi and today I'm out in the garden tending to my plants. Do you have any plants growing at your house? Maybe you have some in the garden, maybe you have some in pots growing inside your house. Maybe you might have some beautiful trees and plants in your neighbourhood that you might see when you go out walking. But one thing I've been noticing about my plants is that they're all different. Some of them have interesting leaves that have different shapes and sizes and colours. Some have interesting smells. Some even have beautiful flowers, just like these ones here. Now, flowers come in all different colours and shapes and smells, but they also have another important role in the garden. Can you think of what that important job might be? Well, flowers attract pollinators to the garden. Next time you're out and you see some flowers, have a bit of a closer look and see if you can spot some bees and butterflies fluttering around. These two are insects called pollinators, and it's their job to collect pollen from the flowers and spread it around the garden. Pollen is like a yellow dust that gets stuck to the little hairs on their bodies. And it's important that this pollen is spread throughout the garden so it helps other flowers and plants to grow. Another thing that insects and pollinators might collect from flowers is something called nectar. And nectar is a liquid that they drink. But for some insects, that nectar is food. But for insects like bees, they actually take that nectar and bring it back to their hive, which is where they transform it into delicious honey that some of us love to eat. So flowers are super important for attracting pollinators to the garden. But did you know that every flower, every tree, every plant started off, once upon a time, as a little tiny seed, just like this one? This is a sunflower seed, but it doesn't look like a sunflower yet, does it? That's because the little sunflower is actually inside this little brown shell, called a shell case, and that protects the little tiny plant inside until it's ready to grow. Would you like to grow some plant seeds with me today? If you do, it's really, really simple. All you need are 4 things. First thing is a Ziploc bag. You might have these at home. Okay? You also need some cotton balls, which you might find in the bathroom at home. Some water. You don't need a lot, just enough to dampen our cotton balls. And of course, some seeds that you want to use. Now, I've just picked sunflower seeds from my supermarket. You can grow any type of seed that you want. To grow your seeds, all you need to do is open up your Ziploc bag, just like this. Pop your cotton balls inside, like that. Add some water. Like I said, it doesn't need to be a lot, just enough to make those cotton balls nice and wet. Give them a little bit of a squeeze so they collect some of that water. And then add your seeds. Now, sunflower seeds are quite big, so I might add a few. There we go. Got about 3 or 4 in there. Try and move them around so they're close to those wet cotton balls. Now, here's the important part. Seal it off, just like that, and find a nice, warm, sunny spot to leave your sunflower seeds, or whatever seeds you're using. The reason for this is that for a seed to grow, or germinate is the correct term that we're going to use here. For a seed to germinate, it needs 3 important things. It needs water, it needs air. Now, there's air inside that bag. We've actually trapped that air by closing the Ziploc bag. It also needs it to be the right temperature. Now, I said before, put it in a nice sunny spot, like maybe on a windowsill or outside in the sun. The reason for that is sunlight is going to heat up the air inside the bag, and it's going to make it a nice, perfect temperature for those little seeds to germinate. And once they do germinate, maybe 3 or 4 days, here's one that I prepared earlier, about 5 days ago. Can you see that? So this is my little germinated sunflower seeds. I'm going to flip it over so you can see it a little bit more clearly. So, some things that you might notice. We've got this green part here. This is called the stalk, all right, or the little shoot that's coming from our seed. Down here we have some roots. They're like little hairs, and they're called roots. Right, now those roots are really, really important. All right, those roots bury deep into the soil. If you plant it into soil, it's going to bury deep in the soil and it's going to suck up lots of water from in the ground. And once your little shoot gets big enough, you can actually plant it in soil. This is my chicken pot. All right, you can plant your little seeds in some soil. Put them in a nice sunny spot with a little bit of water. Might just water mine right now, like that. And hopefully, within a bit of time, you might start to see a sunflower growing. I'll put that over there to the side. This is how you can grow seeds at home. But little plants like these, little shoots like this, you don't have to have seeds. Some of us don't have seeds nearby. But what we can use is vegetables. Vegetables like these ones right over here. Now, I've grown 2 vegetables and want to see if you can guess what they might be. What do you think this vegetable might be? This is to be a carrot. And you might see that it's getting some shoots above. So we had a carrot at one point, and what I did, I saved the top of the carrot and I put it in water for about 2 weeks. And all of a sudden I've got some little shoots growing at the top, and on the side I've got some little roots growing. Let's check another vegetable. This is a really good one. This, see if you can guess what this one might have been. Doesn't look very pretty, does it? This used to be a potato. So here I've got the long roots growing, and up here I've got a little bit of a shoot growing. Now what I could do is take this out into some soil, bury it in some soil, and hopefully within a few weeks' time I might have some potatoes growing in my garden. How exciting would that be? So there are 2 ways that you can do some growing at home. Have an experiment, have a bit of a play. We talked about roots though. Roots are really important. They suck water out of the soil. But how do they do that? It's a good way we can experiment and see how that works. So, there's a little experiment that you can do at home. Now, I've got a cup, and in that cup I've got a little bit of green food dye. And the reason for that is I want some green water. Now, you don't have to use green water. I'm using green water because it's nice and easy to see. But you could use any color that you would like. Okay, so I've got my green water here. I've also got some paper towel. Now you might have this at your house. It's good for mopping up messes. All right, but I'm going to fold it up to a nice long piece of paper towel just like this. And I'm going to add this to my cup of water. What do you think is going to happen when I put this paper towel in the cup of water? Have a think. Talk to your grown-up. What do you think is going to happen? Are you ready? Let's try it out. In 3, 2, 1. Whoa! Wow! Can you see that? I'm going to move it a little bit closer. Can you see what's happening to the paper towel? It's sucking the green water all the way up the paper towel. How amazing is that? That's so cool. All right, this is exactly what plants' roots do. They suck the water from the soil all the way up the roots, all the way up the stem, out to the top of the trees. This is something called capillary action, right? This is so amazing. Now, this is actually moving quite quickly, but what I might do, I've got a second little cup here. I'm actually going to bend my paper towel just like this and sort of drape it over the 2 cups. Now, this will take a little bit of time. Maybe you can just experiment at home and see what happens. I'm interested to know what happens. I'm going to leave it for now because it might take a little bit of time. But this is the basics of capillary action. All right, so we'll put this over here, out the way. There we go. Now, we've talked about important parts of a plant. We've talked about flowers. Flowers are important for bringing pollinators into the garden and helping to spread pollen. We've talked about roots. Now, roots are really important for bringing water from the soil up into the leaves and into the stem. But there are other parts of the plant as well. See if you recognize this vegetable. This is celery. I love to eat celery. But celery has 2 other parts that we haven't spoken about yet. What are these parts here? These are the leaves of the celery. Now, the leaves are really important for a plant, mainly because this is where the plant makes its energy. How does it do that? Well, it actually uses sunlight, which is why it's really important that when we're growing plants, we put them in a nice sunny spot. Sunlight hits the leaves, and inside the leaves actually transform that sunlight into energy in a process that we actually call photosynthesis. That's a cool word, photosynthesis, right? And that energy is used by the plant to help it grow. Amazing. Now, we have these leaves here, and these leaves are connected to this. This is called the stem or the stalk, all right? Now, the stalk has an important job. Not only does it hold our plant up nice and tall, so it doesn't just flop on the ground, but inside the stem are long straws or tubes called xylem tubes, which suck the water from the roots and spread that water all the way up to the tips of the leaves. So if you think about how tall some trees are that you might see outside, some of them are really tall. So I want to see how water spreads through this piece of celery. Do you want to join me in another experiment? What you need to get is a piece of celery. Okay. Again, I've grabbed a cup of water. This time I'm using a glass rather than a plastic cup, mainly because celeries are a little bit heavier. This will help not tip over. I've got some blue food dye in there so we can see what's happening. Add some water, about 3/4 full. Here we go, I'm using my watering can there. And I'm going to add my celery to the blue water. Now, think about what might happen. Have a chat to your grown-up. I'm going to add the celery to my blue water. Think about what happened in my paper towel experiment. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Not much happened. And that's okay. With plants, things take time. So you might want to go outside, have a bit of a play. But come back in about an hour and you might see some changes. Just like this one. So this celery's been sitting for about an hour and a half. Can you see what's happened to the leaves? The leaves have turned blue. And that's because the xylem tubes in the stalk have sucked the water, the blue water, up to the stem. The stem's the same color, but all the way to the tips of the leaves. And now even the leaves at the very top are a tinge of blue. How amazing is that? And this is another example of capillary action, which is what I showed you with the paper towel. Capillary action is pulling water from down below in the soil, or in our case in the glass, pulling it up so it spreads the tip of the leaves. Now you can do this experiment at home, like I said before, but you don't have to use celery. What about using other vegetables like lettuce? What about using flowers? Maybe have an experiment with putting some flowers in colored water and seeing what happens. There are so many experiments that you can do. So much fun. Everybody, done a lot of experimenting today. Thank you so much for joining me for Science Time Experimenting at Home with Plants. My name is Kristi. If you need any more resources, grown-ups, please check out our parent information resource sheet, which will come with this video. And Science Time, make sure you also send us any videos or photos of the experimenting that you're doing at home, either through our Facebook or through our email at sciencetime@questacon.edu.au. Until next time, everybody, my name is Kristi, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!